Good afternoon and welcome to World at Noon. I am Obi Chukwemekauti. Workers in Ondo State have been reassured the government of the present administration to sustain and improve programs that promote their welfare. Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, at the flag off of the distribution of 1.2 billion naira gratuity to 2014 retirees, urged more support for his administration. Government House correspondent Wahab Bankole completes the story.
The Cocoa Conference Hall of the Governor's Office in Akure played host to top government functionaries, labor leaders, as well as present and retired workers in Ondo State for the flag off of the distribution of 1.2 billion naira gratuity to 2014 retirees in the state. In his address of welcome, the Permanent Secretary, Pension Transitional Department, Office of the Head of Service, Mr. Abiodun Akinshiloyin, said the 2014 retirees will not receive a fraction or percentage of their gratuity, but full payment.
This kind gesture of releasing 1.2 billion to 2014 retirees early in the year is a pointer to the fact that year 2024 shall be a better year for retirees.
The Head of Service, Mr. Kayode Ogundele, thanked the governor for promoting workers' welfare with a promise of continued workers' support.
We want to ensure that our retirees, wherever they are, will always have cause to smile. Either they know someone or they don't know anybody. As we are paying salaries, we are also paying pensions. Am I right? Yes. We know that in some states, in fact, I was hearing one recently, they said, the man was saying that, and that was up to this year, that they receive pension maybe 2-3 times in a year. Pension, which has become something we have put far behind us.
Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, represented by the Chief of Staff, Olugbenga Ale, observed a minute silence in honor of the late governor, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu.
May God accept the soul departed in his bosom.
Ayedatiwa, who restated dedication to workers and pensioners' welfare, said efforts will be made to clear the backlog.
The good legacies of the late governor shall be fondly remembered for a long time. We shall always place the people first in every decision we take. As a people-friendly government, I have graciously approved the release of the sum of 1.2 billion naira to defray the areas of gratuities being owed to retirees of the public service of Ondo State. This has become imperative despite other pressing financial commitments of government and the limited resources available.
The governor, who thanked labor leaders for promoting industrial harmony in the state, urged more support for his administration.
This gesture is a clear demonstration of our resolve to continue to take the welfare of both the serving and retired workers with all the seriousness it deserves. We shall not make policies with the welfare and comfort of our people. It is as the finances of government continue to improve, I can assure you, provision for more special intervention will be made to gradually defray the backlog of arrears of subsequent years.
The high point of the event was the presentation of dummy checks to some of the beneficiaries.
We never thought of it. I was shocked when I was called that this thing will be coming up. So you are really putting our reputation and we have performed wonderfully well.
With this gesture of the state government, the hopes of other retirees in the state have been revived. Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
The Board of Trustees of Elizabeth University has approved the appointment of Professor Kayode Jadwola as the fourth substantive Vice Chancellor of the university. Professor Jadwola is a leading professor of medicine whose research and service in Nigeria birthed the first ever Nigerian West African taught course in population and reproductive health training. A statement by the institution's registrar, Mololu Adegbero, says the appointment takes effect from 1st February 2024. Professor Jadola was, until his appointment, a professor of public health and community medicine at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria, and parades over 25 years of national and international experience as a university professor, research advisor, practicing physician, project director, and multidisciplinary consultant. A renowned scholar and accomplished physician, the new Elizade University Vice Chancellor was born in 1965 and was at various times chair of the Faculty of Clinical Sciences Postgraduate, board director of the Gates Institute for Population and Reproductive Health, College of Health Sciences and Provost, College of Sciences of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. An accident at Ileoluji Junction, Itanla in Ondo State, has claimed the life of a motorcyclist. The accident, which occurred this morning, also injured 5 others. The accident involved a truck, a salon car, and 2 motorcycles. Eyewitness accounts said the driver of the truck lost control and overran a motorcycle, thus killing the rider instantly. Men of the Federal Road Safety Commission, FRC, were at the scene to control traffic, while the dead body has been evacuated. The injured ones have also been taken to an unknown hospital for treatment. To electoral matter now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Lagos State says 12 candidates of different political parties will be contesting the February 3 for the Surulere Federal Constituency of Lagos State. The resident electoral commissioner, Professor Ayobami Salami, spoke at a meeting with the leadership of political parties. He said the commission was committed to conducting a credible poll and warned against all forms of malpractices, including vote buying. President Bola Tinubu's chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, was a representative of the constituency until his appointment by the president. Consequently, INEC is set to conduct an election to replace him. Speaking on Thursday, the REC said the commission is required by law to conduct a by-election in Surulere Federal Constituency 1 to fill the vacancy arising from the resignation of Gbajabiamila. In the meantime, the Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal of Gbadebo Road's viva of the Labour Party against the election of Babajide Sanwo-Olu of the All Progressives Congress APC as the governor of Lagos State. The Apex Court affirmed the judgment of the Court of Appeal, Lagos, dismissing the appeal for lacking in merit. Justice Garba Lawal prepared and read the lead judgment in the Lagos State governorship dispute. Other justices who made up the panel for Lagos, Justices Iyang Okoro, Emmanuel Agim, Uwani Abaji, and Adamu Jairu, they say the petition is a gross abuse of court process. The Apex Court, as at the time of filing this report, has moved on to the case of the People's Democratic Party PDP's governorship candidate Abdul Aziz Adeniro against Sanwo-Olu. In other stories now, the federal government has warned Nigerians about the increased risk of cerebrospinal meningitis (CSM) during the dry season. Meningitis is characterized by winds and cold nights. In a statement by the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, Ifedara Adetifa, said the warning becomes important as the weather conditions brings with it frequent upper respiratory tract infections that increase the risk of infections, especially with crowding and poor ventilation. He said in the 2022-23 period, Nigeria reported 2,765 suspected and 303 confirmed cases of cerebrospinal meningitis (CSM), resulting in 190 deaths. According to him, the highest burden of CSM in Nigeria occurs in the meningitis belt, which includes all 19 states in the northern region, FCT, and some southern states such as Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Ekiti, Ogun, Ondo, and Osun. Identifying a public health advisory issued on Thursday, however, assured that the government is working to prevent, detect, and respond to cases of the disease. Meanwhile, the federal government says it would investigate how the non-functioning Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited accrued 33 billion naira electricity debt, which prompted the Transmission Company of Nigeria The Defense Headquarters (DHQ) has challenged Nigerians to see the fight against insecurity as a collective work. The Defense Headquarters for anybody to drive home the message. The charge came from the Director of the Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, during the DHQ's bi-weekly media briefing in Abuja. He urged Nigerians to see security as a collective responsibility of all, noting that the aim of the ongoing operations remains unchanged and clear, promising the military would act on tip-offs from Nigerians. Other laid out a detailed and chilling case accusing Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. It calls Israel's military campaign a long and systematic pattern of international genocidal acts meant to displace and kill Palestinians. Later today, Israel will defend itself against those accusations. Some Israeli leaders are outraged the case was even launched in the first place, and they have described it as a blood libel and a classic case of victim blaming. Odwana Soren reports.
An unprecedented legal case against Israel. For the first time, it is answering for its actions before the International Court of Justice. The case was brought by South Africa. Israel stands accused of committing and having the intention to commit genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. The Israeli government says the case is baseless.
No, South Africa, it's not us who came to commit genocide, it's Hamas. And Hamas would kill us all if it could. In contrast, our military acts in the most moral way. It does everything possible to avoid harming civilians.
With more than 23,000 Palestinians dead, Israel doesn't deny killing high numbers of civilians, but it blames Hamas. It says the armed group is guilty of installing its infrastructures near hospitals, schools and homes, leaving communities vulnerable to attacks from Israeli forces. But evidence Israel has put forward to back this claim has proven false in the past.
This is a grab bag.
Hours after striking Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, Israel's army deleted this video, which it claimed proved there was a Hamas command center under the hospital. When doubts were raised, it reposted a new version without the words, "undeniable truth." Israel resorted to defend its airstrikes, saying it takes care to warn civilians by dropping leaflets, directing them to what it called safe zones. But it has also bombed many of those areas, which is why Palestinians and aid agencies maintain that nowhere in Gaza is safe. In an 84-page filing, South Africa says there is evidence Israel is also targeting civilians by limiting the delivery of food, medicine, fuel and water, a claim the United Nations and top human rights organizations agree on. But Israel again points to Hamas.
Unfortunately, to date, the UN aid mechanism in Gaza has been woefully unsuccessful because it goes through UNRWA. Aid simply isn't reaching the people who need it because Hamas hijacks it and UNRWA covers up for it.
Israel is expected to remind the court of the brutality of Hamas's attack on the 7th of October. Many in Israel shocked that the country is facing legal proceedings and not Hamas. Israel's foreign ministry has responded to the application on Thursday at the International Criminal Court of Justice, calling it one of the biggest shows of hypocrisy and accusing South Africa of being the legal arm of Hamas. Israel will get its chance to respond officially in court today. Oduayo Sawyer, OSRC News.
Staying with the courts, U.S. former President Donald Trump says a lawsuit accusing him of fraud is itself a fraud. He made the comments during the closing arguments trial. A judge has already determined that Trump fraudulently inflated his assets in order to secure loans.
We've proven this case so conclusively. We've asked for directed verdict many times. They don't have any facts. They don't have any evidence against us. Millions and millions of pages, years of litigation, and all politically motivated.
This case is about the facts and the law. And Mr. Donald Trump violated the law. We have produced evidence about the scope, the scale, the depth, the breadth of the illegality, the fraud that impersonally enriched Donald Trump and his family.
The United States and Britain have started carrying out strikes against targets linked to Houthis in Yemen. This is the first time strikes have been launched against the Iran-backed group since targeting international shipping in the Red Sea last year.
We will not hesitate to do everything we can, and we will confront the American aggression. Any American aggression will never remain without a response, and the response will not only be at the level of the recent operation that targeted Americans at sea with more than 24 drones and several missiles. The response will be greater than that, and more than that. And with that, we are more determined to continue and target ships linked to Israel. We will not back down from that, and our position stems from our faith. The Americans should know what that means.
Argentina's annual inflation has surged past the 200 mark to 211%. The country has now outpaced Venezuela, where years of hyperinflation and economic woes have provoked a mass exodus. But Argentina's new far-right president, Javier Milei, says things will get better, but not before they get worse. People trapped in Gujarat state in Sudan are accusing the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) of targeting civilians. The RSF has been fighting Sudan's army since April last year and overtook the state in December. That has led to the displacement of about 500,000 people, but many more remain in the state, unable to leave. Kemsala John reports.
This mobile footage shows civilians rounded up by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces in Milag in central Sudan's Jazeera state. The RSF raided the town earlier this week, and local groups say they killed several. A body can be seen a few meters away from the group. The body doesn't move. Footage shows other people being rounded up. The man filming it accused them of fighting on the side of the army in a town known to have no military facility. The RSF has been fighting Sudan's army since April and launched an attack on Jazeera state in December, taking it over after the army withdrew. Facilities such as hospitals, universities, and banks were destroyed. At least 500,000 people were displaced due to the RSF attack on the state that once hosted the largest number of internally displaced people from the current conflict. Local groups known as resistance committees say the RSF has committed atrocities that include sexual violence, forcible disappearance of civilians, and arbitrary killings. They say many bodies have been left in the streets for days and a lot of civilian homes turned into military camps. Many people who have tried to leave since the takeover have been forced to stay in the state. Those who were able to flee say they did so out of fear of falling victim to the RSF.
We left our homes and had to move through allies and lesser-known routes. When we left Madani, we saw the evidence of the atrocities that were committed by the RSF, the dead bodies on the streets. We feared for ourselves. We fled only with the clothes that we were wearing.
In response to the accusation, the RSF said that those who targeted civilians were not part of their forces and described them as outlaw, but with the history of the group targeting civilians going back even before the state of the current war, survivors of the crime in Melag and Jazeera say they don't doubt who is responsible. Kemisola Ojomu, Osrc News.
In another development, cross-border fighting is continuing between Israeli forces and Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon. The Israeli town of Kiryat Shimona took a direct hit on Thursday. It comes as U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein is visiting Lebanon's Prime Minister Najib Mikati in an attempt to mediate a solution as tensions escalate on the border. The report.
There is still quiet in northern Israel between Israeli army and Hezbollah, but with several military sites hit in the past few days. Israel is preparing for further escalation. The armed group Hezbollah says it was in response to the Israeli military assassinating senior commanders in Lebanon. About 80,000 people have been evacuated from the northern border further west. This becomes more evident. In the town of Shasha, hundreds of people have been evacuated and soldiers have moved in, creating a closed military zone across the area. In multiple towns across the borders, government says tens of thousands of people evacuated won't be able to return until there is no longer a threat from Hezbollah. It is not just military preparation on the border. The hospital has suffered along with other hospitals in the north and have been instructed by the government to be prepared to take in thousands of casualties. In another town called Choi, it was empty homes, empty streets, and there has been fierce fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. And although Israel says it wants to take the diplomatic path first, it is making clear a military escalation is still on the table.
And Palestinians in Gaza generally feel frustration mixed with a glimmer of hope regarding South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, ICJ. They know Israel will do its best to dispel the accusations. Palestinians remember that Israel refused to cooperate with international investigations into its 2008 war in Gaza, as well as its 2014 aggression on the territory, since they hope the ICJ will this time bring justice for Palestinians after they have been attacked and killed on a daily basis for 3 months. They also look forward to more potential resolutions by the international community, calling for a ceasefire that can bring an end to the fighting. And that's all that note. Many thanks for your time. Good afternoon.